Welcome to the Black Doctor Collective podcast. We as Black doctors are in a unique position. We can change our communities, healthcare, and the world. Of course, we start by changing the way we see and value ourselves. I'm your host, Dr. Shanika Horn, pediatrician and physician coach, travel extraordinaire. I am so happy to have you here and listening. So let's get into it. Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Black Doctor Collective podcast. I'm going to talk to you guys about getting what you want. That's like my favorite topic. So that's what we're going to talk about today. It's funny, as I was thinking about this episode, I was reflecting on some of the weird, nuanced things that I feel weird about asking for. So there's a bagel store near the clinic where I'm working, and I'll call in the morning on the way in. I'll be driving in my car, and I got them on speed dial because, I love a fresh bagel, and it's New York. So, the bagels are the best. It's not Dunkin' Donuts bagels, full shade. But I will call them and ask for like a bagel, toasted, light butter, because they OD on the butter every time. It's dripping through the paper. So light butter. But then I hesitate because I like when they cut my bagel into quarters. So I didn't even know this was a thing. They're the ones who actually offered it to me in the past. Like normally you just get a bagel, they slice it obviously in half to butter it, but then they will cut it in half so you have two halves of a bagel, whatever. They cut it in quarters sometimes. And I feel like that just makes it so much easier when I'm in clinic and I'm moving around to just attack this thing a quarter at a time. It's something so small, but I don't know why my brain hitches when it gets to that part of the order. Even though they have completely told me that this is okay, they offered it to me in the first place, but something about that feels like extra bougie. I don't know what that is, but it does. It feels so ridiculous to be like, can I have my bagel lightly toasted and then quartered, please? But they're always fine with it. I don't know what in my mind says this is too much. Like, how do we draw the line at this is a weird thing to ask for? And it's not weird because they literally are the ones who taught me to quarter my bagels. But this just goes to show that it's not about the external stimuli, right? It's all about our internal conversations with ourselves, because I'm the one telling myself that this is too much, that this is a weird ask. There is literally, when I think about it, no evidence that supports that this is something weird to ask for. I don't know. Something in my brain, well, I know my brain, my amygdala in my brain somehow has calculated that this one extra step is a lot. And it always comes back to the question that everyone asks themselves, which is, who am I to ask for this? I bring up this question because this is something so many people ask when they're negotiating. Who am I to ask for more money, more vacation time, all of these things? And it's so funny because that ranges so much between people. I just talked to someone about their contract, and she's telling me the job is paying for 50% of her Ubers to and from work. Have y'all heard of this? And she feels totally normal about asking for it because she's already decided that that's within her threshold. That's something that maybe I would feel weird about asking for because I never even considered it. I just always assumed it was my responsibility to pay to and from work. Now, with locums, of course, they will pay for transportation, right? So they might pay for mileage, they might pay for your rental car, but that's also still within the concept of locums. And so for me, because that was already established and I needed that thing to do the job, I've always just gone along with it. But this somehow feels like the next step of things to ask for. And I am like, well, who am I to think that these people want to give me X, Y, and Z? So I'm asking you guys, have you ever stopped yourself from asking for what you want because you felt like, who am I? there's something underneath that, right? Like, I'm not good enough, qualified enough, something enough to ask for this. Or in asking, I'm going to appear to be too much, too greedy, too ungrateful. Both of those things are the same side of the coin, because there's things we ask for and we don't even bat an eyelash because that's just our innate value that we deserve that thing. But then there's these other things like quartering my bagel or asking for my Ubers to be covered to work that feel like they take it to the next step of, I do not deserve this thing. I still have to earn this thing. Yeah, and it just manifests in such interesting ways. I think one of the underlying beliefs here is that I need to be better or more qualified or more confident before I can get what I want, before I can even ask for what I want. I've seen this so many times. There's some way that we feel like we have a deficit. Sometimes it's like, oh, I don't close my charts fast enough, or I have a certain number of open charts, or my patient satisfaction scores are low, or like the list is endless because you can, in your mind, ultimately add anything to that list, right? Like that's such an amorphous concept. You can just exponentially add things that make you not good enough, that make you ask yourself, who am I to deserve this thing? And sometimes I literally have to answer that question. In fact, I encourage you to answer that exact question. Who are you to ask for these things? This can go one of two ways. It can either go in the direction of, well, like I'm this doctor, this global health trained pediatrician who has accomplished all of this despite being first generation American, despite being Black and female in a country that hates both, despite having many people, including people who were supposed to help me along the way, tell me that I couldn't do it, that I wouldn't be able to accomplish it. I have been able to overcome and be successful. And not only did I accomplish the dreams, I then moved the bar to become an entrepreneur, to become the medical director of a practice, to become all of these things that I can continue to list out accomplishments. That can be one side of the coin. So when you ask yourself, who am I to ask for these things? And then that version of you, you might come out a little bit more hype, a little bit more like, you know what, I do deserve this thing. Then there's a flip side where you're like, well, all of these things are wrong with me. I haven't been able to do certain things. Like I had to take my MCAT twice and I failed Orgo the first time I took it. And so then I went to a Caribbean med school instead of an American med school. And, I did okay in residency and I failed step 3 the first time I took it. Like I have this list of potential failures that I could come up with. They're not potential, they're real failures. I've actually done all of those failures, right? I've actually experienced all of those things. I could then build the evidence against myself to the contrary. So I ask you to answer this question because I want to know, which direction does your brain go in? And if it's going in the negative one, oh, we got to fix that, because that is the only way that you're going to end up getting what you want, being able to ask, achieving confidence at some point. If you are the one tearing yourself down, the good news is you can flip that. You are in full control of that moment. You're in full control of those decisions. You get to decide and make a different choice. I also think about, there's another potential belief that holds you back, which is, if I put my head down and work hard, someone will notice me and reward me. And it goes right back to the bagel thing. When they offer it to me, it feels good. But to ask for the same thing that they're already told me that they're willing to offer feels bad. There is a discomfort in the ask. So what we do instead is we try to show others that we want something. It's like the passive aggressive form, but instead of like passive aggressive, there should be a word for this. I don't know that I know a word for this. where you passively try to hint and influence the way someone sees you. And hopefully, because you're able to show that you can do the thing, then they will reward you with it. It's so tricky. And all of it literally stems from our internal belief. It's either we think we're not good enough, we're unqualified, or like we believe those things and then we don't want people to see that, or we feel the need to prove that that's not true to ourselves and to them so that we are prepared to ask, or they're more likely to give us what we want. I don't know. It's just so convoluted up in here. And this brain is so tricky, tricky, tricky. Imposter syndrome and judgment and mind reading, always thinking you know what the other person is going to think of you when you ask the question, right? It's like, if I ask for more, then they're not going to be nice to me. They're going to think I'm difficult. It's going to ruin our relationship. We just become so, like, when you catastrophize everything, we become that. It's so crazy. So I eventually want you to get to the point where you're not just like, who am I to ask? But you're asking yourself, well, why wouldn't I ask? And weighing that out, because that's a better place to operate from. If you're asking, why wouldn't I ask? Like, if you had the conversation of like, who am I? And you went down the positive pathway of like, this is who I am. And this is all that I have done to get here. And I believe in myself. So I deserve. So why wouldn't I ask? Right? I feel like that's just a much better place to be. So the mindset shift also comes in, like, in order to be successful, in order to get what I want, I have to just be who I am and not be focused on who other people want me to be. Like, it can't be that I'm so worried about what they're going to think that I don't do something. That is the opposite. Like, you will definitely not be successful, because if you're only doing what other people want you to do, then you're like letting someone else decide your limitations. And we already didn't do that, because we talked about the fact that going into med school, someone along the way told you weren't going to be able to do the thing. Imagine if you had let that person determine your future. And so many people do. I know you know a person who did not apply to medical school, who had a dream of being a doctor and decided, nope, it's too hard. This is not for me. And they agreed with whoever told them, nope, it's too hard. This is not for you. And now they're off doing something else. And some of those people discovered like amazing things, right? Like they're either more creative or they have these great careers, but then some of those people have major regrets. And we never want to be in the camp of regrets. Camp regret is not a nice place to be. So why then, like, what is the distinction, I guess? Why then do we decide for some things that it's okay to ignore the external opinion? And for some things, we are like, we believe what they say. And it's all because of what we believe about ourselves. It's literally all internal belief, because we thought we could be a doctor. We disagreed with the external opinion. But in the cases where we agree, even just a little bit, those things take root in us and we are not able to move forward, and we're not able to ask for what we want. And then we don't get what we want. And then we start to believe about ourselves that we are the kind of person that never gets what they want. Ooh, that's a terrible place to be. Just thinking that feeling like I don't get what I want. Oh, like the way my stomach feels. And that's true sometimes in certain aspects. Like, think about any aspect of your life where you feel like you have not been able to get a certain result. Oh my God. I can feel it right now. Like, when I think about even my personal life, right? Like, I just knew I would be married with children. I would have had the American dream, but even though I didn't really want the American dream, but that's a conversation for another day. Just personally in my interpersonal life, like, I'm kicking butt in my work life, right? In my entrepreneurial life. I am doing things that other people think is amazing. Like, and also, I guess personally, like, I travel a lot. But I think interpersonally, there are things that I feel like, oh, I wish I had accomplished and I haven't accomplished that. And I don't know how to get that thing. And then my mind goes down the spiral of like, oh, don't really have it together, because if I did, I would have everything, right? Like these were the conversations my brain be trying to have with me. She's just so rude. And those things keep you back though from getting it, because once you start to believe that, once you start to internalize that, then you take on an attitude of defeat, of acceptance, of settling for what it is. Oh my goodness, that's like the worst possibility. That's worse than asking and being told no, I think, because you've let yourself down. It's like a process of self-betrayal because you didn't go after the thing you wanted. Yeah, oof, that's rough. So the question that I want you to ask next is, if you don't show up for yourself, if you don't retrain your brain to not think negative things about you or to not believe the negative things that are said about you, who's going to do that for you, boo? I mean, I think you just have to start from a place of, who am I to ask for the things? Well, first you have to identify the things you want, and then you have to talk to yourself about why you deserve it. Like, you've already put in the work. You're already worthy of the asking. Just in your inherent being, you are worthy of asking. And so then I want you to make sure that when you ask yourself, who am I to do the thing, that you are ready to answer in that positive direction, right? Because no one's going to hype you up like you, girl. Nobody. You have to support yourself. You feeling good about you is an internal job. The call is coming from inside the house. You got to answer it. If you need to make yourself a hype list in order to do that, I want you to do that. Make a list about what makes you valuable. Stick it on the damn wall in front of you, okay? You need to see that every day until you believe it. It's not like affirmations, right? It's not just that. It's affirmations paired with action. You need to be able to say the thing, believe that you deserve to have it, all of those things. So another easy way to get into the habit of getting what you want is start with some small asks. In your life, where are there some low stakes requests that you can make that you will get? Like me, I'm going to keep asking them to quarter my bagel, honey, because I deserve, right? I continue to ask for my beverages without ice because I deserve more beverage, okay? I don't care who might get upset. Start with some of these small asks, things that are reinforcing to you that when you ask for what you want, you're much more likely to get it. I want you to be super clear and direct about what it is you're going to consistently ask for. If you need to practice this in a mirror or with a friend, I want you to do that. For me, I have some small ones. The asking for what I want in terms of how I want my food prepped, asking for what I want in smaller doses at work, right? So sometimes it's just like small conversations to get what I want. And then you have to take the action before the self-doubt creeps in. Before Amy Amygdala pipes up from the back and it's telling you that you don't deserve the thing, or you shouldn't ask, or it's not going to work out. She's telling you all these things because she's trying to keep you safe, not because they're actually true. So you have to be ready to take that action before the self-doubt comes in so you can see some positive reinforcement. Or if the self-doubt kicks in, you have to know how to talk her down, right? So I want you to ask for one thing this week, big or small, that you have been hesitating to ask for. Please, you have everything you need to take this step. And then I kind of want to hear what it is. I want you to DM me on Instagram at The Black Doctor and tell me what it is. This is the challenge of the week. I am asking for something small this week, something that shows my brain that I can get what I want. It could be something really tiny, but you want to start to train yourself to ask for the things. And so you'll see it in your everyday life, just little things that you just hesitate to ask for. I want you to pay attention to that. And after that moment of hesitation, I want you to ask. and tell me how it went. I really would love to hear what you asked for and how it went. You have everything. Now go get what you want. Bye. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe to the podcast. And what I want you to do next is link us everywhere you can. Instagram @The Black Doctor. Just become part of our collective. I want you here. Thanks. Until next time. Bye.